everybody, welcome to my channel. Hope everybody's having a good start to their week and hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Today we'll discuss China, election, and China's meddling and as far as Chinese intelligence and threats are concerned. So over this weekend, G20 held a 15th summit. However, it had to be virtual, clearly due to coronavirus pandemic and travel restrictions. But nevertheless, there was a lot of interesting information that came out of there. One big one was a speech by Chinese leader Xi Jinping. He was stating that the world has to deal with the pandemic, and also he believes the tariffs should be eased. Also, he believes that there should be more reciprocal agreements. He also believes that there should be standard QR code pertaining to coronavirus tracking and travel, so that way the world can get back to more travel. And as far as the trade is concerned, he was very worried about trade because China clearly is one of the largest manufacturing markets, and with coronavirus pandemic and US-China trade war, China's economy has been suffering in the biggest way. But nevertheless, China is the one responsible for this pandemic, and it was quite hypocritical for Xi to blame anyone in the West, or including World Health Organization, for not implementing right measures, when in reality China underreported the actual scale of the pandemic at the time when it was reported to Chinese government, and the doctors were actually censored pertaining to that so they would not spread that information going further, and a lot of meddling involved in that as well. Also, I did an article which I'll post a link to earlier, that one of the individuals who is actually World Health Organization from Chinese background and headed before Chinese Ministry of Health was actually responsible and working pertaining to pandemic measures within WHO, and it could be easily plausible to believe that China could have easily approached him. I'm not claiming that that is 100% true or it's actually verified, but it's quite a big possibility given the certain background of this individual and how originally WHO undermined the pandemic, putting it only on the low stages and only giving it an epidemic status instead of immediately putting pandemic status. But this video is not about WHO, and this already happened. It's about what China wants. As far as QR code is concerned, and this is where it gets very interesting as far as travel checking, it also could be used for intelligence gathering. So basically, if China has access to this information, who's traveling where, therefore it gains access to a lot of patterns of foreign nationals' travels, including their citizens traveling abroad. They're already monitoring that, but that would become more draconian in every way possible, because China uses intelligence and has been known to steal trade secrets, has been known to even track its citizens in US, including Chinese students, and blackmail them or actually threaten their families back in China. That information is verified. But nevertheless, this is where it's very dangerous. There's many countries, for example, even Canada, Russia, that have those apps that track your movement in order to verify if you have COVID or any sense. In any restaurant now in the Western Hemisphere, you have to scan QR code, enter your information if you've been there. In case there's a case found, you'll be notified and known that you came in contact with anyone like that. And of course, all of it provides tracking. But when it comes to China, this is especially dangerous because China tries to gain access to information as much as possible. China has also been known, and I did a video on this as well, that they actually put trackers inside of counterfeit Vuitton goods, so the people who received it in the West were actually tracked by Chinese services, including their PIN codes, their cards, their bank cards they've been using, because the tracker has been installed inside their purse and was reading information. This information was verified. And also now there's also turmoil within the USelection as far as Biden or Trump. Clearly Biden won the election, but there's a lot of recounts going on, investigations going on. It was announced this morning, but it's not 100% verified, that George Soros was arrested in Philadelphia and being questioned at FBI today. However, there is information ban on this information. The people who disclose this information is yournewswire.com. I would leave a link to that information. However, it's not verified at this time, and if it did happen because of the media ban, and that's pertaining to the election meddling. But this is what gets interesting about Trump election campaign, because everybody knows Trump is trying to fight the results of the election, and there's Trump Legal Fund. What is very interesting about that, there has been many posts that became available that Chinese nationals are looking for ways to donate to Trump's legal defense fund. Obviously, this is complete meddling and interference in US democratic processes, but this is actually happening now and recently happened. I'm not saying that any Chinese nationals were able to donate. This is one minor, I'm not claiming anything like that. for his information. So the question remains, why would a foreign national would be interested in contributing to Trump's legal defense part in regards to election? And it's only clear, and it is very odd trajectory with this, because in a way, for China, it is better to have Biden in many ways, because Trump waged a huge war on China. Even though I'm not a Trump supporter and I'm not going to get into this type of politics, so for China it would not be even beneficial. However, what is the benefit of trying to interfere? The only benefit to try to interfere is to divide US within, to cause civil war. Russia would love nothing more for Putin, for US to be weakened within and have some type of civil war, disturbances, or any type of protests involved in US. So it would weaken US economy even further, with coronavirus already weakening the global economies and cause turmoil. So that way US will be too busy dealing with internal issues to overlook what's happening with Russia's appetite, Turkish appetite, and their geopolitical interest. Russia is aggressively pushing into Africa, including now joint venture projects. They held an African summit last year. China held an African summit this year as well, pertaining to trade and everything like that. So this is what's happening now. So while the news is all focused that, Joe Biden and Trump should have won and all this and that, there's foreign nationals trying to meddle in US election and even post-election time. And I gave you a prime example of Chinese, what they're trying to do in finding ways to donate. So clearly, number one, they have no interest in donating personally, but if they have, that would create another scandal saying that foreign donors are trying to donate to US presidential legal fund and everything like that, which is, like I said, I have no proof that anybody donated. I'm not stating that. I've just seen messages pertaining to how they could donate and people looking for ways to do so, but I have not ever seen anything like that. So I just wanted to make sure I'm clear on my video. But nevertheless, this is what's happening. And as far as China and the back to that QR code is concerned, so that means if there is a unified information database, which clearly it will be, that China would have access to, that would mean they'll have access to foreign nationals. They could hack it, and there's a lot of things they could do, and Russia could hack it. Russia is another popular one, even though this video is about China. But what is interesting, this is a playbook of something else before. Cryptocurrency is new because everybody knows China created crypto yuan this year, which is not a true cryptocurrency per se. It is using blockchain, but Chinese government and People's Bank of China has a full control of that. It's not anonymous. You cannot ever get your money out of it. Foreign nationals who are using it for trade purposes will only be able to spend within China or approved within there. They'll never be able to cash it out, transfer it, sell it, or do anything of that nature. So clearly it would be a huge act. But originally, where this all came from? Cryptocurrency is new and blockchain is more newer. However, it reminds me, and I'll put a link, I did an article that was out this morning in regards to comparison to Operation Bernhart. What is Operation Bernhart? In 1939, Operation Bernhart was a Nazi Germany project to forge British banknotes and counterfeiting currency. And this is how it worked. A lot of prisoners, Nazi prison camps, were actually working and printing those currencies for Nazi Germany. But and of course this was happening to weaken Britain and also flood the market. But also, there's also an interesting fact about all of that. In 1941, the intelligence services were stopped from using such counterfeit currencies to send intelligence agents to UK. And that's the reason they were doing so. They were supplying them with UK notes in order for them to conduct intelligence operations on UK soil against UK, basically, and gain intelligence for Nazis. So this is how it all started. But this is a predecessor of blockchain. And this is a predecessor of how cryptocurrency could be used, because as far as the anonymous blockchain portion is concerned, it is very easy for intelligence to pay their intelligence via cryptocurrency. And apparently there's a lot of speculations that Russia and China has been using it to pay their intelligence agencies overseas using it. But as I said, the predecessor was right after Operation Bernhart, and Nazis were using it. At that time there was no blockchain, but used the same idea but only counterfeit notes and also untraceable notes and everything like that. So that would be the predecessor of it. So clearly China did not create a playbook, and clearly Russia did not create a playbook. Nazis created the playbook. And actually, if you look at deeper and outside the scope of this video, majority of Russian nuclear program during Soviet era was thanks to Nazi engineers and Nazi physicists. It was not the brilliance of Soviets per se. Yes, they did a lot, like for example academic Sakharov. There's a lot of he is basically the creator of the nuclear bomb for Russia and everything else. But outside of it, Nazi Germany contributed the most. And the same goes now as far as, the predecessor of cryptocurrency application for intelligence services. So nonetheless, I would love to know what everybody thinks. Also, as far as the China concerned, as far as the QR code on their health guides, but in reality, China wants to use it for intelligence operations. What does everybody think about Operation Bernhart? I will leave the link to my article if anybody wants to have further information into that. What do you think about cryptocurrency, and what do you think about Chinese tracking? I would love to have everybody's opinions. Please click like, please subscribe to my video. You can also read my articles under Christina Kitova, communalnews.com, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their day and great rest of their week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.